Hi everyone, Tom Vogel, Wrestling's Finest PC Pro Wrestling Game. Today's video is about the game engine of Wrestling's Finest and how everything kind of works. Now, I know some people don't care. They just want to play a game that's fun, realistic, accurate, and they just have a good time, which is perfectly great. Others would like to know the game engine a little bit, but they don't really want to take the time, which I understand. And again, good for them. And then you probably have a third group of people that would like to learn the game engine, and maybe they've tried to figure it out and they just either give up or it's too frustrating. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the things of the game and how they work. So let's get started here. First thing I want to show you is I did choose Hogan and Piper as my wrestler. First thing I want to do is I want to show you a fast action card. You'll see on here, 6, 7. There's 10 numbers. There can be 11, and I'll try to get one. Let me see if I can find one of those quickly here. Okay, let's keep going here. I'll get a little different one here. Okay, this should be a good one. You'll see there's 3 numbers here, a middle number, 3 here, and 3 here. I'm going to explain briefly which each one is. The CN number, that's going to determine who is in control. That's based on a 1 to 40 number. And I'll explain some of the ratings here in a minute. CPA number, I call this my counter pin attempt number. Again, 1 to 40. The reason I was fast forward, I wanted to get kind of a mid-level number here in parentheses. This number here is based on, it's not really based on anything, but it's, if you might have the possibility of having an illegal pin attempt. And how it works is, say a wrestler is going to have a pin attempt, and you see that 6 in parentheses. What the game does, it checks the wrestler's illegal pin rating, and if the number turned is less than or equal to the wrestler's illegal pin rating, he gets to try an illegal pin. Now what that means is he's either going to use the ropes for leverage, grab some trunks. Notice the referee is out of position, kind of takes advantage of it. I wouldn't really call that illegal, but we have it in there. Could be outside help, which is rare. And then there's one where his opponent actually gets his foot under the ropes, but the ref fails to see it, or his opponent grabs the rope. So those are the type of illegal pins. How it works is, say, and I'll tell you, Roddy Piper's illegal pin rating is 9. So in this case, with that 6 in parentheses, Roddy would get to try an illegal pin if he wanted to. Now, next thing that happens is another fast action card is turned, CPA I believe we use, and whatever the number turned is, from 1 to 40, you add Roddy's illegal pin rating to it. And since he's a 9, whatever number you turn from 1 to 40 gets a 9 added to it. So say a 30's turned, it now becomes a 39. The higher the final number is, the better for the wrestler attempting the legal pin. Because what happens in a lot of occasions is you get to add extra numbers to Hulk Hogan's pin rating. Now, there are bad things that can occur. The one bad thing that occurs is the referee can catch the illegal pin. I don't remember what the number is, but the lower your illegal pin number is, or rating, the more chance the referee can catch it. And if the referee catches it, not only do you not get to attempt the illegal pin rating, you get to attempt no pin rating, and you go back to what we call original control, which we'll be talking about. Sometimes you don't want to go for an illegal pin, even if you have the opportunity. An example is, let's say Roddy hits a specialty move and Hogan's pin rating is, say, 40, 40, 34. That means Hogan pretty much has a 34 out of 40 chance of getting pinned. So if you go for the illegal pin, sure, there's a chance that you can push Hogan all the way up to 40, 40, 40, which means it's automatic unless ropes comes up. But is it worth the extra 6 numbers you would get for the referee to catch it? That he may catch it, because say it's 40, 40, 34, you go for an illegal pin, and if the referee catches it, you get no pin attempt, so you lost a golden opportunity to pin Hulk Hogan. So that's how the illegal pin works. Everybody has a rating from 1 to 10. Most of your faces are going to be 1, 2, maybe 3. Might be some exceptions in there that maybe have a 4. Most of your heels are going to be 6 through 10. There's very few 10s. Flair is. Buddy Rogers might be. Harley Race I know is. So most heels I'm going to say are a 7, 8, or 9, and there aren't a ton of 9s. But again, the higher your rating, the better. Okay, tag team number is based on 1 to 40, and if I get time, I will talk on that. Not a lot to go over there. But the middle number here, the 0, that's based on a number from 0 to 9. Because a lot of times you'll turn 2 of those to get a number from 00 to 99. So if you were to turn, let's say I go back to this card. Say I turned a 2, and then a 0 would be 20. Now, DQ number, DQR, and outside ring number, these are all based on 40. 1 to 40. 1, 2, 3, these are your pin and submission checks. They're based on 1 to 42. However, there are, as you can see, ropes, meaning the wrestler got to the rope, so they attempt to stop. And you may on occasion see INT, meaning the wrestler has a chance to call for interference. Little side note, how fast action cards were created for the game? Well, there's 300 cards in the deck. And there have been so minor changes since 1982. The way these cards were created, it's actually kind of a neat story. How I did it was I bought a couple decks of a couple packs of index cards. So what I did was I threw 300 of them on the floor, and what I did was I picked up the first batch. So on the control number, I put the first 7, I put 1, the second 7, I put 2, all the way up to 40. So by the time I got done, I had all 40 numbers 7 times, so it was 280 times. Then I decided, where should I put the other 20 cards? And to be honest, I can't remember how I did it, if I did it from 11 to 30, or if I did 15 to 35. I honestly can't remember, but there was a scientific way to do it. So once I filled those in, then I did the same thing, the CPA number, 7 of everything, and then I had to create 20, but I threw them on the floor again, picked them up. It took me about 2 weeks, because every one of these, 300, 300, 300, I don't remember how many for the illegal pins, I didn't do them for every card, but 300, 300, 300, so you had basically 300, 600, 900, 1200, 1500, 1800. This here, I believe, whatever 30 divided by 10 is, that's how many there's 30 zeros. I believe if that makes sense. Yeah, 10 times 30 is 300. So it took a long time to go through these. So every one of these I had to pick up 300 times. So that's how the fast action cards, there's no rhyme or reason what's on any card. If I put a 15 here, did that mean I wanted to put a 35 here? Or if I put a 35 here, did I want to put a 35 in? No. Picked them off the floor. So anyway, that's how your fast actions cards were designed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of that, and let's just look at Roddy's card here real quick. So control rating. I call that the original control, and that's it's used to start the match, and then various things that happen during the match will refer you to this number. Each wrestler has a rating. I would say 98 or 99% of the wrestlers in the game are either a 14 or 15. And it's based on a 1 to 40 system. And if both wrestlers have the same control number, Hogan's also a 15, then one wrestler's in control from 1 to 20, and the other's 21 to 40. Let's say one wrestler's a 15 and the other's a 14. you would add the difference to 20. So the 15 would be in control from 1 to 21, and the other wrestler would be 22 to 40. That does not change during the game for the original control. The defense rating, that's subtracted from the wrestler, his opponent's successful holds. I believe Hogan's successful holds are 0, 0 to 70. So against Piper, he'd be 0, 0 to 69. Stamina, very important. The first number, you compare it to both. You compare the number for both wrestlers. So Roddy's a 73, Hogan's a 68. That's Hogan's big weakness is he just didn't have a lot of long matches. So if you stretch the match out, you might have a chance to beat him. So the difference between 73 and 68 is 5. So for this match, Hogan takes 68 minus 5, which makes it 63. So you'll see here, Hogan to start the match is 63, right here. Piper, since he has the higher rating, he stays at 73. So back to Piper's card. The second rating is very, very important because that 5, that means every time Piper's stamina hits 73, his first and second pin numbers and submission numbers go up by 5. So right now, Roddy's in his first stamina level. As soon as it hits 73 and starts the next cycle, he'd be in his second stamina level. His pin rating goes to 30, 29, 3, and his submission goes to 13, 8. Now, anytime the first number goes over 40, the extra numbers carry over to the second number. Once both these two are 40s, any extra numbers go to the third number. So if Roddy, say, is 45, 44, 3, it's actually 40, 40, and then you would take the 5 and the 4 and add it to the 3, so it would be 40, 40, 12. Hogan, you'll notice his second stamina rating is a 6, which isn't real good because, in fact, it's bad. So every time Hogan hits 63, his stamina will go to 27, or it will go up 6 for the first two, and his submission will go up the first two. Now, Hogan's going to be a lot better off because we'll talk about pin rating here pretty soon, but he has a much better pin rating than Piper. So the other thing the stamina does is we're going to talk about it, when we determine a wrestler's counter to specialty moves, every time he reaches stamina level, his counter for each specialty move that his opponent may attempt, it actually decreases by 5. So let me skip, I'll do the pin rate now. 25, 24, 3, that's all based on 40. So 25 out of 40, 24 out of 40, 3 out of 40. Now, one thing that frustrates me as a game designer is I've had people email me and say, I can't believe you gave so-and-so a 2 or you gave him a 3 for a third pin rating, and you gave another guy a 4. You have to look at all 3 numbers. For example, the 25, 24, 3 for Piper, I'll look it up here real quick, his pin rating is 2.81%. Okay, now, if Roddy gets in his 4th stamina level, then his pin rating actually goes up to 32.5, which is still pretty good for a heel. But if Roddy's pin rating was 23, 24, his pin rating would be 2.88, so granted it's a little worse than a 3. However, when Roddy gets to his 4th stamina level, his pin rating is only 17.5% versus 32.5%. So if Roddy Piper was alive and sitting right next to me, he would tell me, hey Tom, you ripped me off. Give me a 24-24 pin rating because it's better than a 25-24-3. In fact, it's significantly better. So don't get hung up on the third pin number. A lot of times you'll see for a third pin when it's like a 2 or a 3, on some guys you'll see the first 2 numbers are very high. For example, if your pin rating says 27-27-2, 27-27-2, your pin rating's like, I believe it's 2.28%. once you get through your stamina 4 times, I believe it goes to 40. So it can be misleading because your pin rating might be better early on, but it might only be better for the first 73 points of your stamina. Same with submission, except it's not, submission isn't a big deal because your third submission rating is 0. This rating here, this is first wisdom. This is how many strategy, or as my brother would say, luck cards you get in to start the match. Each wrestler is assigned, like Piper gets 6, Hogan gets 5. It's random, and that's how Herman came up with the word luck, because it's just luck which cards you get. And he hates it. I love it, because I like the fact that the strategy cards you receive can make you slightly better, or it could make you slightly worse, or if you got, let's just say, all aces, kind of, you that could really help you even some of the playing field up. But that's with the first numbers. For tag teams, that rating in tag team is used for a lot of different things. I'll probably do a separate video on tag teams, so we'll save that. The second stamina rating for Piper's is 17. That's one of the higher in the games. That's, I don't want to call it like how smart he is, but that's kind of what it is, and it also kind of just his, is he kind of a smart wrestler? And how it works is, if Roddy gets pinned, a check is made to see if he somehow was able to make it to the ropes. And how it works is, you turn 2 cards, and if it's 0-0 to 17 out of 100 numbers, then Roddy makes it to the ropes and the match would continue. If your opponent has a negative stamina or a wisdom rating for the second rating, you add the 2. So if, say, Hogan was a -3, then Roddy would be 0-0 to 20. It just gives him a final shot. Now, let's move on down here. The successful hold, 0-0 to 72. Piper would be a 0-0 to 71, and that's out of 100 because Hogan's a -1. Auto control loss means Roddy's in control, but he messed up and he gives control completely over to Hogan. Piper has a 5 here. I'm going to explain that he's a 75, 87, 5. Let's look at Hogan here. Hogan is a 75, 85. The lower the better. So Hogan will have less auto control losses, where Piper's 75 to 87, Hogan 75 to 85. However, Hogan only has, I shouldn't say only, he has a 4, Piper has a 5. So you take the difference and you add it to the lower guy. So for this match, Hogan would be a 75 to 85. I'm sorry, 75 to 86. This never goes down. If Hogan was also a 5, he would stay at 75 to 85. If Piper was only a 3, Hogan would stay at 75 to 85, but Piper would go 75 to 88 because Hogan would have the 1-point advantage. Make a note here real quick. You see the asterisk here. Well, we'll just talk him. 95 to 98, your fan interaction. That's, the fans can either help you or hurt you. So if Hogan turns a 96, we go to the fan interaction chart. And the higher your fan interaction rating is, the more likely you'll get a positive result. Hogan's, I don't know how many other guys are 95 to 98, but there aren't very many, if any at all. This means he has an excellent chance of having some type of positive result. If you're a face, you might just have a 95 in an asterisk. You're still a good guy, but you're not going to get quite the bump that somebody's a 95 to 96, 95 to 97, or especially 95 to 98. Now, let's look at Piper on that. Piper's a 95 with no asterisk. The better heels only have one number, meaning they're just not going to let the fans get to them as often as other guys. If you're, say, 95 to 97, then you're going to have a much stronger chance that the fans are going to really get under your skin. Okay, so let's put this into play. We determine who's in control, and since they're both 15s, Hogan would be in control from 1 to 20, Piper would be 21 to 40. So let's say we turn a fast action card and the number's, let's just say 25. That means Piper's in control. The next thing we do is we go to what I call the action section. And you turn, remember that big 0 number that was on the middle of the fast action card? You're going to turn 2 of those. And you're going to apply it to this middle section. If the number doesn't fall in somewhere, so let's say you turn a 74. It doesn't fall into any of the categories. That means it just means nothing occurred for either guy. Piper didn't screw up to give control away, but he wasn't able to do a successful hold, and fan interaction did not come into play. So what you have to do is you go back to control again, the original control. So let's say Piper turns 73, nothing occurs. We go back to control, and let's say we turn a card and it's 23. Once again, Piper's in control. Now we're going to turn 2 cards again, and this time we're going to turn a 47. You'll see that falls in under the successful hold. Doesn't mean he applied a successful hold. It means he gets to attempt a successful hold. And this is where it kind of gets fun. But we're going to jump ahead real quick. If Piper was to turn 75 to 87, he would have auto control loss, meaning control goes over to Hogan. So let's say Piper turned an 80. Go back here now. So Hogan is in control, so now he turns 2 numbers to see where it may fall on here. Again, if it doesn't fall anywhere, we go back to original control. So let's say Hogan turns a 98. That's fan interaction. We would go to the fan interaction chart, the 98 column as I call it, and you would get the result from one of our text files. And it's either going to add, it's going to, if it's a positive, it's going to add stamina points to Hogan. Like fans really get behind him, start chanting his name, stomping their feet. Wrestler soaks it in, it gives him an adrenaline rush, add 15 to his stamina. There is a slight chance for Hogan, because he has such a high fan interaction rating, where it could be Hulk Hogan plays to the fans just a little too long, which allows Roddy Piper to come up behind him and start punching away at the back of Hulk Hogan's neck, 10 off Hogan. Those are going to be rare because he's 95 to 98. So let's say Piper had auto control loss. Let's say Hogan gives it back. He turns a 75. So now Piper's back in control. And let's say Piper turns a 47, successful hold attempt. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn, remember again, the 0 card on that fast action, right in the middle, I should get that big 0. We're going to turn 2 cards, and we're going to get a number. And let's say that number's 41. You'll see it falls in hammering 00 to 48. Well, if that hammering number we just turned would have been 00 to 17, it would be considered a legal hammering hold. But since for Piper, I don't remember what I said, but let's just call it a 41, it would become 18 to 48 would be an illegal hold. So we're going to click illegal hold. And on those 2 cards we turned, remember that CPA number? We're going to check the first and second one. The second number is going to tell us what the move is. Remember I said it's 1 to 40? In fact, let's bring one of that back up just so you can see here real quick. So let's turn it here, and let's say the number was, let's say we had a successful hold and it was a legal hammering, and this is the second card. Let's say this is the first card. It's a 39, which means it's a hammering hold and it's illegal because it's above 17. Well, what we're going to do first is check the 25. But while I'm here, remember 13 for now. Okay? So, let's go look at Roddy. We got a 25, and that's going to fall into punch, 19 to 35. We're going to take, before we take this, we're going to check Hogan's counter to a punch. So we're going to come over here, and his counter to a punch is a 6 right here, under counter. Since the number turned was 13, Hogan does not counter the punch, so it did occur. we go to our text file, and it will say, Roddy Piper unleashes with a barrage of stinging punches, 6 off Hulk Hogan's stamina. So, and the reason I know it's 6, right here into the stamina off, -6. And what we're going to look at is what it is the number, remember that 25 we turned, how it told us it was a punch? If that number would have been 34 or 35, we would have had a pin attempt. And if that's the case, then we would have gone to the fast action cards, and we would have turned 1 and looked at the 1 number. And we'll show that to you here real quick. Can't get the look at the wrestler card at the same time. So we would check, let's just go ahead here. Say we checked here and it was a 13. Well, we'd see we got a 1 because Hogan's a 21, and I clicked it off, so let's bring it back. Then, since we got a 1, now we'll check for the 2. Now it's a 38, which means there's no 2 count because this here has to be less than or equal. So to get a 1 count for Hogan, you'd have to turn a 21 or below. Piper would be a 25. To get a 2 count for Hogan, again, it's 21. Piper's 24. And should you get the 2nd count, you go to the 3rd count, then you'd have to turn a 1 or a 2 out of 40. And for Piper, you'd have to turn a 1, 2, or 3. So, in this case, we do not have a pin attempt, but let's just say we tried one, and it didn't occur, or let's say we didn't have a pin attempt. Now what we're going to do is we're going to determine who's in control, but we don't go back to original control because Piper is in control and he threw a punch, so now he has a chance to be in control from 1 to 36, right here, under the control heading, out of 40. And if you'll notice, Piper has a lot of high numbers, 36s, 37s, 135, and 2 more 37s. So if you're a 36, it means 90% chance you're going to be in control. However, I'll show you some feature that, or a rating I love in the game. It's called auto control rating, and that's right under control. You'll see Piper's an 18 -1. Hogan's actually a 19 -3, which is phenomenal. And what that means is he will reduce Piper's auto control by 3, so he'll go to 15. So now when we determine if Piper remains in control, if it's 1 to 15, it's auto control. And if it's 16 to 36, because remember our punch was 36, he's in just regular control. Let's say he turns a 10, so he's in auto control. That is an awesome thing to have happen for him, because instead of going through these steps again to see if we're having successful hold, auto control loss, or fan interaction, we're saying Piper's already had a successful hold, so he'll get to try another hold, which we'll do in a second. If that control number was 16 to 36, Piper's still in control, but now we have to go through these steps. Does he have a successful hold? Does he have auto control loss? Does he have fan interaction? Or does he have nothing? So that's why that auto control is huge. For this match, Hogan's a 19 -3, Piper's an 18 -1. So Piper's auto control rating is only going to be 15 versus Hogan's 18. Those 3 numbers are huge. So let's say Roddy turned to 12, so he's still in auto control, or he's in auto control. We're going to determine what move again, and so we're going to go back here, and let's say this time he turned 65, and it's a suplex. So he's in, what we're going to check though, that's what he's attempting. And let's say on the 6 card, the number's 10 on the CPA. Well, Hogan has a counter for a suplex. We'll ignore the letters here. His suplex counter is a 16. That means he has countered Roddy Piper's suplex attempt. And when you counter a move, you just simply turn 2 cards and figure out what move you're going to try. So let's say we countered it. Hogan now turns a 56. It falls under kicks. Let's say the first 5, the number was a 9. Okay, we're going to look at Piper's kick counter. His kick counter is only a 7. so he does not counter it. So now for Hogan, we go look. Remember, we're going to call it a 50. Let's say it was a 56. We're going to take 6 off Piper, and we're going to check that CP8 number on the second card. The first one we check for the counter. The second one we see if it's a pin attempt. It has to be 38 or higher. So he only has 3 chances out of 40. So let's say there's no pin attempt. Well, Hogan, after a kick, is going to be in control from 1 to 37, but his auto control is 1 to 18. So let's say he turns a 37, or let's say he turns a 39. He has now lost control. Piper is now in control, so we're going to see which one, successful, auto, fan, or nothing, which one occurs for Piper. That's how the game engine works for Hole. So what I'm going to do is, we're already at a little over 30 minutes. I'm going to cut this one off, and I'm going to do a second one of these. And what we're going to do is we'll walk you through a couple more pin attempts. And what I should have done here was, let me tell you this real quick. Counters, everything you see, ignore the letters. Everything you see here is based out of 40. So Roddy's counter for hammering is 17 out of 40, 8 out of 40, 7 out of 40, 9, 11. And Hogan has, since he's bigger, a bigger guy, you'll see his counter. Piper's body slam counter is a 9. Hogan's is a 14. So these are the counters, and I'll explain the letter grades later. But see, now you know what control is. All along here, you know how we get an attempted pin, and then the stamina. When the stamina comes off, like it says take 11 off, and it was first move of the match. Well, Hogan had a kick, so it was 6 off. Piper would go now to 67. Once that hits 0, it goes back to 73. It starts the next cycle, but his pin rating would then go up 30, 29, 3. So on the next video, I will explain specialty moves, and I'll walk you through how we do DQs and outside ring situations. We'll talk a little bit about cuts. We'll talk a little bit about interference. Just a few more things. But right now, you kind of got actually quite a bit. As you can see, it's a loop. Who's ever in control dictates the action, but then certain things can happen, whether it's a counter, whether the wrestler loses control, or you could possibly have a DQ, or you could have a pin that actually occurs. So we'll talk more in the next one. If this was something you enjoyed, please listen to the next one, but if you were bored senseless, or you got the gist of a few things and that's all you care about, by all means, don't listen to the next one either. However, if you are interested in learning how the game works and why certain things happen, I'm also going to show you a couple of my game charts in the next video. Please join me again, because I think my personal opinion is if you learn a little bit how the game works, I think you'll possibly enjoy it more. A good friend of mine, I won't give his name or the game away, was in a draft league. They used a computer football game, and it was 4th and 10 at the 50, and my friend was on defense. And so he thought his opponent might do a fake punt, so he called a fake punt defense. Well, lo and behold, the punter ran for a 50-yard touchdown. Now, my friend wasn't, of course he was upset, but his big gripe was he had no idea what the probability of that was occurring, because there was no way to know. And he said, I called the perfect play, and sometimes you call the perfect play and it still doesn't work. So just tell me, was there a 1 or a 2% chance that occurred? Because that would make me say, wow, I called the perfect play, and the guy only had a 1% chance of having that result. So kind of the same with wrestling. If you think, how in the heck did this guy have this occur? If you understand the game engine a little bit, you might not be able to figure the probabilities, but you'll at least have enough understanding to know that it was a very, very rare chance. I had somebody a while back, they actually had a 1 out of 100 chance of something occurring, and then as a follow-up, they had another 100 chance of occurring. And it basically was a 1 out of 10,000 chance. And it happened. And I've never seen it, never heard of it. Maybe will never happen again. But I was able to look and say, wow, he had to turn a 1 out of 100 and then another 1 out of 100 for this to occur. So you take 1 over 100 times 1 over 100. So your chances were 1 out of 10,000. So I went too long. Thanks for joining in. You can email me at tommyv33@att.net. That's all lowercase, TOMMY, initial V33@att.net. Or please check us out at our Delphi forum. Go to your favorite search engine, type in DELPHI forum, and then type Wrestling's Finest. It'll take you to our message page and our message board page. And great guys, great wrestling discussions. A lot to do with the Wrestling's Finest game, but we also get some pretty good wrestling discussions. So please feel free to drop in, even if you don't have the game and you don't ever plan on getting it. We just like having wrestling fans. But again, thank you very much. Hope the rest of your day is great. This is Tommy Vogel, Wrestling's Finest, PC Pro Wrestling Game, saying so long.